of applause, please. Jocelyn Garcia is a political science graduate, local artist, and a community advocate dedicated to uplifting marginalized groups. As president of Access to Thrive, a local nonprofit advocating for people with disabilities, she leads initiatives that promote accessibility, equity, and inclusion. Through her art and activism, Josie works to bridge civic engagement and creative expressions to inspire lasting social change. Once again, join me in welcoming Jocelyn. Gracias.
Thank you so much, Nayamin. I need one of those too. Thank you so much for everyone for being here today. It's a pleasure to be moderating this conversation. Very honored. Thank you so much to the CCV team. So without further ado, today we will be doing a live presentation of In Simple Terms. In Simple Terms is one of the newest podcasts at the moment. It is an extension of Access to Thrive. In Simple Terms is a setting where we describe and break down Imperial Valley topics in simple terms. So we try to explain to the community issues that are going on that might be quite complicated, similar to lithium, and we want to make sure that the community knows what they're listening to, right? So we try to break down in the simplest terms. So today, I will be presenting the panelists for this live interview of In Simple Terms. And so it's going to be an amazing panel. Specifically, it's going to be the executive directors of Power Coalition. So let me just give you a little breakdown. In Simple Terms, it is a new online podcast dedicated to discussing and simplifying Imperial Valley issues. Join us for a live episode with the newly established Power Coalition. Power Coalition, People Organizing for Wellness and Restoration, is dedicated to strengthening community voice and advocacy in the Imperial Valley. Let us reflect on the history and future of the Imperial Valley community organizing. So without further ado, the first person that I would like to present is the Executive Director of Access to Thrive, Ashley Contreras. Woo! Ashley Contreras is the dedicated executive director of Access to Thrive, a nonprofit organization based on her hometown in El Centro, California. Driven by a profound commitment to equity, Ashley works tirelessly to create a truly inclusive community for individuals with disabilities in the Imperial Valley. Her advocacy focuses on breaking down systemic barriers and championing initiatives that restore dignity and essential access. Ashley is a passionate leader who strengthens collaborations between local government, community organizations, and corporations to ensure residents has the right to a better quality of life and access to fully participate in community life. Thank you so much, Ashley. Hi. All right, next up, we have Mr. Luis Olmedo, who, you know, he was already presented. Everybody knows him in this room because he personally invited us. So welcome, Director of Our Roots Multicultural Center. John Hernandez is a retired California state employee with 34 years of service in HRD, EDD, ALRB, and CCL. He's going to explain what those acronyms are, all right? Including roles as a state programs analyst, auditor, and child care licensing inspector across multiple counties. A U.S. Marine Corps veteran, thank you for your service. He was long been active in health, human services, and community development. John served as trustee and school board president of Central Union High School District in El Centro, and has held leadership roles in numerous civic, senior, and cultural organizations, including Our Roots Multicultural Center in Imperial County. Imperial County Area Agency on Aging Council and local senior clubs. He has contributed to environmental and cross-border initiatives, including the Imperial Valley Environmental Justice Task Force, Colorado River Citizens Forum, AB 617, Community Air Monitoring Project, and Salton Sea restoration efforts. His education includes Central Union High School, Imperial Valley College, and San Diego State University Imperial Valley campus. All right, thank you so much for everyone joining us today. So today I'm gonna have a couple questions for you all. Very happy to be a part of this, not only this summit, but the Power Coalition. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is power, right? So I'm gonna start up with my questions. Power brings together organizations focused on health, opportunity, and community well-being in the Imperial Valley. So this is kind of like a general question, but I specifically want to target it to William. From your perspective, what does restoring community power look like in everyday practice?
Thank you, Jocelyn. That was an excellent question. Well, the root word in restoration is to restore. The main purpose or the goal of this organization or coalition is to give back the power that has been stripped away from the residents of Imperial County. This county was built on the farm worker, it was built on the truck driver, it's built on the parent and the teacher. They set all of the trends. They shore us up when our leaders leave us destitute and alone. And that's the power we want to give back to everyone, that the efforts that you're making is the efforts that are required to make any county succeed. And if you continue to do these things and band together, that power grows and it gives influence to what you want to see your future look like.
So in simple terms?
In simple terms, I'll repeat Malik Glasgow, all power to the people all the time. Thank you.
Absolutely, yes. So I want to forward that question also to Ashley. What does restoring community power look like to you with the work that you're doing and in everyday practice? Or anyone open to it?
For us, with Access to Thrive, that looks like working every day, waking up and making that decision to put in the work and get out there to represent the community that is not being represented at the moment, and making sure that we look for resources that are needed in the Imperial Valley that we know are out there in California. We see them, but they're just not making it all the way to the border town. So finding those resources, working tirelessly to make the connections and networking opportunities and bringing those resources to the Valley. And we have successfully brought some already that I'm really proud of through Access to Thrive. We were able to bring a resource for home modifications and home renovations that did not exist in the last couple of years. And that's something that I'm really proud of for our organization.
Absolutely, that's amazing. So what I'm taking from you is not allowing the limited resources and the barriers that we might be facing here in the Valley to limit us in our growth, right? So we have to go out there and find the resources and not force them, but kind of encourage them to be here, because we also need them out here as well. Awesome, absolutely. So Mr. Luis Olmedo, I would like to present that question also to you. What does restoring community power look like here in the Valley? What is restoring community power?
Restoring community power is, I tend to try to overanalyze every word.
Yeah.
But as I hear that word, restoring community power, we do have community power. So we're not necessarily restoring community power. We're just taking ownership of the power we already have, right? Well, even when we go back to the very Constitution or the Bill of Rights and all these laws that are supposed to provide protections, that are supposed to serve us, because that's the agreement, right? The public does its part, and the government and the system is supposed to provide certain guarantees. But we give up our power the moment we don't vote. We give up our power the moment we don't show up as a city council and says, why does the West Side keep getting brand new streets and brand new sidewalks, and why do I keep getting more potholes, right? So I really believe that our power is something that we've been told repeatedly and persistently that we don't have. And I'll give one more example. And even I, in my own journey, and thanks to Comité, and thanks to all the learning that happens, and by the way, thanks to In Simple Terms for bringing this live podcast. I appreciate that. But it's only been recently that I started realizing every time there's a negotiation, we're being told that all you get is a job in return. But more and more, I try to repeat to my own community and others, public water, public land, public air, public grants, forgivable loans, tax credits, jobs credits, massive amount of public patrimony and public wealth is being invested. But if we go on in our community, where's our murals? Where's our story? Where's our history? It's all by design to take away your power, so that you feel like, oh, this is not my home. I'm only here on borrowed space. I'm living on the guest house in the backyard. No, this is our home. It's our power. We've always owned it. We've always had it. Go out and claim it.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, again, in simple terms, our job as community organizers is to remind the community of our power, right? To let them, to make sure that that is ingrained in their brain and they never forget it. Why? Because that's when we get taken advantage of, right? That's when we get forgotten, is when we forget about our power. Absolutely, thank you so much. Mr. John, last but not least, what does restoring community power look like in your everyday practice?
You know, all these comments were great, and as the, I guess, the older guy in the room that's lived in this community 76 years, I go back to the basics of our self, our community, and in terms of what we're taught in simple terms of being healthy in mind, body, and spirit. And from there, educate ourselves and our community as to what we're missing. And like Mr. Olmedo says, the power that we have and that we possess is so important for us to accentuate that power, to speak up, to step up, to do our best every day, to do those three things that I said, to stay healthy in mind, body, and spirit, and help those that reach out for help, and help those that want the help, and work as a community to educate ourselves and make it better for all those. And I think that's where, in simple terms, I would say that at my age, the quality of life now for my population, the seniors, people over 60, 70, 80, 90, maybe even some that I know close to 100, which are too many, is to take it back to health, mind, body, and spirit, and help each other and build ourselves, our family, our community, and you know, the rest of the world. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. Thank you, thank you. So, continuing with the conversation, this question is specifically directed toward Luis Olmedo, one of our, greatest leaders out here in the Imperial Valley. So your organization contributes to one of Power's major initiatives, whether that's supporting vulnerable families or advancing environmental justice. What made your organization feel this work belonged within a coalition rather than doing it alone?
Thank you for asking that question. In our own journey, I'm a second generation organizer, and I'm so blessed and honored to have third generation organizers here as well that are in the room. Miguel, one of them. Thank you. The journey of Comité Cívico has been a long journey, starting with farm workers talking to each other, and then understanding that they gave up their power by not claiming their power, which is what I said earlier. And so in our journey, when I started in the early 2000s, I always tell the story that I ended up going into a planning commission, and I saw what I would learn about Martin Luther King and Cesar Chavez and organize. I guess I wasn't a very good student because I thought you just organize people and show up and make noise. But we got called out right away. And they said, "You're all emotional." And since that day, I said, I'm never going to be called emotional. So I can tell you that anything we do is fact-based, is well-informed, or the best available science and information that's out there, and the best information from the experts. Because who are the experts? Is the people living in these areas of need and impact and exposure to conditions that are deviation from the guarantees we have, which is everything John had also mentioned, the quality of life. And so in simple terms, I've come to realize that as we became more effective, we became an easy target. Oh, Comité, it's easy to get them. And we realized we can't do this alone.
Absolutely.
We need more. And the more effective we became, we realized we can't do this by ourselves. And that's why I have such an honor, such a great privilege to be able to have programs such as the Youth Environmental Health Internship, where we've taken high school kids, preparing the next generation, and taking them off to Sacramento, taking them off to Washington, D.C., even in places like the Department of Energy, because I tell you, it's harder to get into the Department of Energy than it is to get into the White House. I'm telling you, it's so many filters there. But being able to work with the Power Coalition, be able to come together because each one of us in the Power Coalition is representing an area in the Imperial Valley, right? But we also have partners like IV Equity, UNIDO, CCJN, the Environmental Justice Coalition, and so many of you that are in here too. So this is a very, very large coalition. Again, I'm glad that In Simple Terms exists, because I'm not a simple person in my head, because a lot of times we're dealing with all the calculations and everything is mathematics, right? So in simple terms, the math and the calculation is we need lots of you to own your power, and we're here for you, right? So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much.
Justin?
So in simple terms, oh yeah, go ahead.
Can I follow up in
Absolutely.
simple terms?
Of course.
Because there's an important saying that I heard from Jose Luis. It was, if you want to go fast, you go alone, but if you want to go far, you go together.
Absolutely.
And that's how we make it long term in simple terms. Thank you.
Yeah, perfect. That was summed up. Absolutely. So going based off what you were saying, Mr. Olmedo, I love the diversity in the communities that we serve with this coalition. So I feel like in simple terms, based off what you said, we're better together, and that basically takes over and is able to, we're able to mark a bigger territory or we're able to serve a bigger group of people. And in all these areas, people with disabilities, farm workers, unhoused communities, senior citizens, all of these communities have been disinvested. We all are knowledgeable of it. We all are aware of it. And being able to do it together and serve these communities together is why we're here, essentially.
I just want to add to that you're right. Like we're the experts, like you said, everyone is the expert of their own community, of their own struggles and their own obstacles. But when we come together and we start sharing that with each other, and we realize like, oh, we're going through this too. We're going through that. And we start learning about other communities. And for example, I'm learning about now struggles with seniors, and I'm learning about the struggles in the North End, thanks to William. I'm learning about the issues with the lithium industry and the environment through Olmedo. So working in a team also makes us all help each other's community. So that's really good about that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely right. So now that you have the floor, Ms. Ashley, I wanted to ask a question for you. Based on your initiatives and what Power does, right? What impact or change have you seen so far that makes you feel that this coalition model is actually working?
A lot. I've seen, basically, the biggest thing is seeing the young people in these rooms. Yeah. To me, that's super motivating, super inspiring, because when I first showed up, I was the youngest, and I was like about the only person in the rooms. And now seeing more young people, that makes me really hopeful for the future. And it also makes me want to teach them. I mean, I've been a student. I've been learning in this journey, and I'm also here to teach others what I've been learning. And I've seen a lot of change through the places that we've been, the people that we've inspired and motivated, seeing the mobilization and the action in the organization we've seen, for example, with the voter education. That was like just a couple of days we had to like get together and make it happen, and we made it happen. Absolutely. I loved it, seeing people out, going to door to door to give out flyers, to get people informed, just to go vote. And when we saw the turnout of that, seeing that the Imperial Valley had such an increase in people showing up to vote, that was like, wow. Yeah. And there's other things that I've seen through the Power Coalition, for example, like I mentioned, learning from each other and also supporting each other. I've gotten so much support from so many people in this room, and likewise, I'm here to support them in any way that I can, and I think that's what it's about.
Absolutely, yes, thank you. And feeding off what you just said right now, yes, seeing more young people interacting with these kind of issues is absolutely inspiring. But what I've noticed personally is the amount of older people who were previously apathetic to these kinds of issues are now showing up. Why? Because we are showing up as well. They're seeing the youth coming up, and they see like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should care about this, right? So that's something else that I, specifically with your dad, I don't know if I can share this, but your dad is someone who I never thought he would be helping us with the voter outreach initiative. So that's super inspiring to see a lot more older people helping us out and actually caring about these issues. So absolutely, thank you so much. This next question is for Mr. John Hernandez. Because you are, one of the panelists with the most experience, I wanted to see, just based on your interactions and history, what are some key moments in the Imperial Valley organizing that shaped where you are right now?
The one that comes back and back and back and back is when I saw the 800-pound gorilla in the room in Imperial County, which is big agribusiness. And we have 5 generations, and I guess it was like the second or third that it was yelling at my father, wow, cussing him out while he was sweating, swamping watermelons, and that had an impact for the rest of my life. For sure. And then going to the military and coming home and seeing what was happening during the Vietnam era had another impact. And then going to work for the state of California where they didn't want me to speak Spanish, and then coming out of that after 34 years and getting paid for speaking Spanish because now things had changed. And it wasn't easy in the 70s. And so, yes, history is distorted so much. I mean, I was living it. I was living those changes, and today I'm still living those changes. And let's face it, if it wasn't for people that were before me that stepped up, things wouldn't have changed like what Cesar Chavez was able to do with the short-handled hoe and the people that got behind him. And it was a lot of white people in the room that helped us, let's face it. But now we're educated. Now we have the capacity ourselves to do it. Can you imagine yesterday, when was it, that the Senate, president of the California State Senate is the first Latina, Hispanic woman?
First.
In 72, they didn't even want us in the room. So those are impactful. So we was already working in 72, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and I guess into the 80s to see that happen, and it's here. So these things are very impactful, knowing that, you know, it's getting better in some areas, but in Imperial County, it's not moving the way it should be moving, and it's not as equitable as it should be moving. And I support the efforts of somebody like Ivy Equity and Justice that says, hey, we don't see equity and justice here. And so those things are impactful to this day. And, you know, I can go on with the coronavirus fiasco that we lived and all these other things, health, education that we're living, dementia, high blood pressure, cancer, and diabetes. That now we have longitudinal studies, 100 years. You know, you can study me and put me in a book. You can study, you know, all my brothers, sisters, fathers that died with cancer. So we don't want that for another 100 years. We want investment in our community. We want, if they're going to develop things like more geothermal, agribusiness technology, robotics, lithium batteries, cars, that we be part of the game.
Absolutely. That's super powerful. So just for the sake of time and staying on, you know, on schedule with the agenda, I have one last question for anyone who wants to answer it, all of you if you'd like. If the coalition could accomplish one major change in the next few years that would transform the life of the Imperial Valley, what would that be? Anyone?
The healthcare system. That would be just in the next couple of 5 years, what I want to see in the Valley is bring specialists. Why do we have to travel outside of our region to go get the adequate care that we need? Just an example, the wheelchair that I just have right now, I literally just got that yesterday. And it took me 3 years to fight to get that. I had to advocate for myself. I got 4 denials, but I kept going and I kept going. And here in the Imperial Valley, it was just like, oh, you got denied. Like, you know, that's it. But finally, I was able to get a referral to go see a specialist in San Diego. And that took a whole year to even see him, because it was like, you need to get an MRI, you need to get a CT, you need to wait for an appointment. And it was a long time while I'm in chronic pain every day. So, and I just had to be reminded by my family and my friends, like, you have to advocate for yourself, you have to fight, you have to fight. And I kept doing that. And I'm happy that I was finally able to do that, but it just makes me think of the people that don't and the people that can't. The people that maybe have the language barrier or don't have the access to get the transportation to go get this care. So my goal for the Valley and this coalition is that we bring more healthcare specialists to the Valley, and also with the asthma rates that I wasn't aware of that, but now that I am, it's an issue that I'm going to be advocating for. It gets me so mad that 1 out of 4 kids in the north end of the Imperial Valley suffer from asthma. That's 1 kid in every family. And we don't even have a respiratory specialist in the entire valley. Nyland has a clinic that only opens once a month. Like, how is that even happening right now? And we're part of the United States. We're part of California, one of the best states, one of the most richest states. And I think that we have to be reminded of that this is our land, and we need to own it, and we need to fight for it, and we just need to work to make it better. Thank you.
Absolutely. And quality of health. So quality of health is what we need for the Valley in the next few years, you know, as soon as possible. Yesterday is when we need that, actually. Anyone else?
I'll try to do it in as simple terms as I can. I struggle with that. And I'm so thankful that the podcast exists, because we need that. But I want to take opportunity of the mic to say a few points, and one is, I keep seeing Lori Copan there. Hi, Lori. and I want to let, yeah, go ahead. She deserves a very applause, and I'll tell you why right now. So we're in our 14th EJ conference. And about 14 years ago, we were sitting down, and Paul English, who's retired already from the California Department of Public Health, and Lori's one of the chiefs there still today. And we were sitting, I think it was in Barbaraworth, and they see all these plumes of smoke, and I swear, I probably, if I kind of, laughed to myself, because they probably thought it was like we were getting attacked, or something, because they were like, oh, these, and I was like, what are you looking at? What's going on, with all this smoke? It is like, it's agricultural burning, I guess we normalize it, but it's not normal to somebody who lives in the Bay Area, right? If there's other things happening over there, for sure, but not all these mushroom plumes that look like atomic bombs going off everywhere. And they brought the idea of the Move the Mountain, which is about bringing leaders like yourselves and coming together. And here we are, our 14th summit. It's not our 14th year, because we've had pandemics, we've had a lot of reasons as to why we skipped some, but it's the 14th conference. Who would have thought that today, that idea is still flourishing? And today is such a special day because all of you have been handpicked and selected, like I said earlier. And one of the goals I have is that by the end of this conference, is that we have an opportunity where you can tell us, where do you want to go next, right? And the other part is that the Power Coalition continue to grow and continue to build power. It's not about us competing against each other, because you know what? We're competing against a grain of corn or whatever, right? It's nothing, okay? When we have a world of public patrimony and resources out there, whether it's foundations, whether it's 1,000 organizations, we're not gonna be able to reverse the harm in the next 100 years if we tried. And so one of the things that I wholeheartedly wish that we do is that we work together. We work as a team, that we uplift each other, and that's why I love the Power Coalition. Thank you.
Thank you.
And keeping with time, I will try my best to keep this brief. The most impactful thing for me in the next 10 years in Imperial County is workforce development. The opportunities that currently exist here are not being properly offered to the most disinvested communities, and that has to stop in order for any of us to grow. Recently, my organization, Comité Civico, and the Latino Community Foundation embarked on a partnership to do local entrepreneurship training in the Spanish-speaking communities. I didn't realize that there were so many businesses inside homes locally here that just didn't have the information or support to bring them out into the light where they can serve their community and become more successful. Right now, the Becoming Project is hosting pathway training for what we're calling Forever Green Farms. It is upskilling farm workers and new workers entering into the workforce in new farm technologies and indoor sustainable farming. We realize that agriculture is 90% of the economy in Imperial County, but nobody ever considers the impact that that economy has on the farm worker, the respiratory disease, the harassment.
If the coalition could accomplish one major change in the next few years that would transform the life of the Imperial Valley, what would that be?
I think it's changing attitudes of the educational structure in Imperial County to really prepare the next generations for success. I got involved in education when I found out that only 8% of the student population was being prepared for higher education. And after living outside of this community and going to the military and seeing how the rest of the world was living as compared to us, and I said, this is wrong. And I was bucked all the way through until we did some systemic changes when we had some support, but all that support dwindled. And now I hear that it's back to about the same thing. People, even educators, are struggling to to just survive and live paycheck to paycheck. But I'd like to see the educational system really be serious and get people that are passionate about education, educating the generations to come, and that we have other institutions that are seriously preparing our next generations, not just the same one that's here, San Diego State as an extension, and seeing Mexicali, how it bloomed to, 20, 30 institutions of higher education, doctors, lawyers, engineers, and now, they're coming to work on this side because we don't have them here. So I'd like to see that transformed. Thank you.
Absolutely, thank you. I would like to add my 2 cents to this conversation. Yes, absolutely. Round of applause. I would like to add my 2 cents based off what everyone answered. What I would like to see in my valley is more third spaces where these conversations can be held. We don't have to come into an environmental justice summit to have the conversation of the issues that are going on. So personally, that's what I would like to see more of, these conversations actively happening in third spaces. So thank you so much for everyone. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me and being able to break down power in simple terms.
And remember to follow us. Thank you. Follow us on Instagram in simple terms, .iv, and Facebook in simple terms. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to open up the audience for any questions that you guys might have for our amazing panelists today. Any questions in the audience? We got a few minutes. Oh, question over here. Can we get a mic? Right behind.
Oh, thank you, gracias. My name is Angela. I'm a water projects coordinator with CCJN, and I think one of the questions that I have for the coalition, out of respect, because in our region we do support a lot of the farm worker communities out there in helping them access programs and especially projects that will bring actual fruition of workforce. And I know with one of the projects that we're dealing with on the west side of Fresno County, we're coming into a lot of barriers of access to those new workforce programs, especially in solar. And I wanted to maybe pick your brain a little bit about how the coalition has been discussing around how to battle against a system that still creates barriers for farm workers to access a transition into new jobs, either in the solar industry or in other renewable, clean energy industry. I think that's a big struggle for us in the Valley to try to figure out how do we move around that type of barrier.
Can I respond to that question?
Yeah, I was going to say, Mr. Williams.
Thank you. That is an excellent question. You fell right in where we are today. That was the whole purpose of the creation of Forever Green Farms. You mentioned the system. That's what we realized more than anything, that there was no system created for people, for our community. More than the production of jobs from Forever Green Farms, it was breaking down the language barrier, breaking down the education barrier so I could know that everyone has an equitable opportunity to grow. And then we went outside of that and went and found our own local partnerships with Grid Alternative to teach solar installation, or Carrillo Agro to teach greenhouse automation. So we didn't have to depend on Imperial County or IVEDC. I'm sure that they have worthwhile things that are going to serve other populations. For ours, we have to start creating our own system. And if I need something, I call my brother or sister. I can't traditionally reach out to organizations that don't really care if the programs they're creating make it to the people like me or the people that need them most. So we stick with each other. If you do need something, if you need information, if you want to be part of the program or you want to extend it to Fresno, that's what this partnership is built on. So we can create our own system and don't have to depend on the systems that weren't created for us. Thank you.
I do want to add to that. I think what the importance is of the transfer of knowledge, the transfer of experience over generations, so that the generations today and the generations in the future don't have to spend like Comité, 35 years of practice and building the power to be able to transform change. I have been alarmed and come to realize that the system is in the way that it is because we give up our power. And there are people who are out there, and I've heard them, and I've personally, and I've heard their beliefs, you know, that public health isn't for you. The way that it was done in the old days, just don't drink downstream from the herd. Don't drink downstream from the herd. That's the mentality, okay? So it doesn't matter, you know, public health, right? Also, if you're poor, that's your problem. Why should it be my problem? And there aren't rich people without poor people. That's the belief in people in our own communities here, in the San Joaquin, Central Valley, throughout the country, throughout the world. There's a lack of balance. This world provides for all of us, and we give up that power. Now, we can only do so much. Imperial Valley, for example, and I know the Central Valley, San Joaquin, and other communities that our partners and friends here are serving, there's enough for everybody. But why is it that we have to go out and say, can you bring me some type of social service, some, you know, food insecurity remedy, you know, some, you know, outside, you know, trickle-down support so that I can keep a roof over my head, right, or keep the lights on. Our community is wealthy. All our communities are wealthy. And the only way to change that is by showing up, just like the other side shows up. If there's a discussion on water, guess who's showing up? The people who think own the water, which are the people who showed up over 100 years ago and started planning and started owning a lot of land. We're not in those discussions. In fact, they're not even televised. Same goes with every natural resource, including dollars. Washington and Sacramento constantly talk about monies that are out there. Oh, give it to the rich because the poor will smoke it and drink it. What's wrong with that system? I see a lot of people here with money who probably be very successful, like William and his organization, the Becoming Project, creating workforce development, or David, who spent an entire career with Field, right, creating educational opportunities and transforming the farm workers into business owners, into transitioning into other jobs. So I'll leave it there.
I just want to add that I do come from a family that was the life. Like, it was as soon as you turn 18, go to the fields. Like, that was the life. And now to see that William came up with this, bringing this like very innovative structure of indoor farming, now that the Imperial Valley is suffering with extreme weather, it's important that we do that we transition, that the valley adapts to the weather, that we adapt as it's changing as well. So creating this like indoor farming is super awesome, but the best part is that you're not starting with the minimum wage. You're starting with the livable wage, like he has said. So that's another part that I just wanted to give a little shout out to that.
One more question. Hello, my name is Rodrigo Palma. I agree with everything that was said up front, but there's a big thing that's missing here. Environmental health. I am strongly against all this pot smoking. People think we're going to send our kids to college and all that, but with the effect that all this pot's going to have on them, we're not going to have any leaders. We need to think about that. The state of California and other states, they're generating so much money in fields of pot smoking. I went to Indio yesterday. I was behind this vehicle. It passed me about 80 miles an hour. And what I smelled was a lot of pot coming from the windows. Let's think about our environmental health and what's happening to our teenagers, 13, 14 years old, because from pot smoking, they're going to graduate. And I'm not going to say they're going to graduate to a higher education. They're going to graduate to stronger drugs. Let's keep that in mind. Thank you.
So what I'm taking from Mr. Palma's question is education for our youth and guidance for our youth, which is absolutely super important. We need to lead by example, absolutely. And so with that, I feel like we have projects that are targeting youth. Why? Because we want to show them that there are other things to do instead of just, whatever they may be doing right now, or just being on their phone, or just being disengaged. So what one of our goals is as a coalition is to absolutely engage with the youth, to let them know that there are more things to do here than just nothing, right? We want to let them know that we've all gone through those same struggles. We want to let them know that they're not alone in their struggles. So absolutely, well, that's one of the biggest areas of focus is the youth. And thank you so much for your question. Any more questions? We're done. All right, thank you so much to everybody. Thank you much for your questions and for your patience. I appreciate you all, and very awesome panel. Thank you.